Again, I welcome you all. So, in the last video, I talked regarding the amyloidosis concept, about the mechanism of amyloidosis, and also regarding the various biochemical forms and classification of amyloidosis. Now, in this video, I shall tell you about the primary secondary amyloidosis and about the various organs that get involved in the amyloidosis. So this I told you in the last video, that what is the mechanism of damage to the tissues. So when amyloid protein gets deposited, it leads to the atrophy of the cells due to the pressure atrophy. Next, the amyloid protein gets deposited in the wall of the blood vessels, leading to the ischemia. And lastly, the amyloid proteins, they can be directly cytotoxic. Now, primary amyloidosis, just briefly I will tell. So, in primary amyloidosis, there is systemic distribution of the amyloid proteins in various organs of the body, and it is AL type. So, AL type, this I had told you in the systemic amyloidosis, and it is the most common amyloid proteins that is deposited. Now, uh, this you should remember that it is seen in case of plasma cell dyscrasias, which is caused by the clonal proliferation of the plasma cells that synthesize the light chain immunoglobulins. Since the light chain immunoglobulins, they are formed in large numbers, so they are prone to misfold and form the amyloid proteins. And most common disease associated is multiple myeloma. So this is called primary amyloidosis because the primary disease is causing the production of these proteins. So in multiple myeloma, there is single immunoglobulin is formed in large amounts. So that's why it is known as monoclonal gammopathy. And there is M protein spike, which is seen in serum electrophoresis. So it is very important test which is used in the diagnosis of multiple myeloma. And these light chain proteins, whether kappa or lambda, so they are known as the Bence-Jones proteins, and they are seen in increased amounts in the serum and urine of the patient. And in this disease, amyloid can get deposited in various organs like kidney. Now, secondary amyloidosis, it is seen as a result of chronic inflammation there is synthesis of the SAA protein by the liver. And this SAA protein, when it is formed in large amounts and it is not proteolized, then it can misfold and form AA protein. And these protein can get deposited in various organs in a systemic fashion. So earlier, bronchiectasis, tuberculosis, and osteomyelitis were important causes for this secondary amyloidosis, but because of better treatment of these diseases, now the common causes of secondary amyloidosis are rheumatoid arthritis, ankylosing spondylitis, ulcerative colitis, and Crohn's disease. And it can also be seen in tumors like renal cell carcinoma and Hodgkin's lymphoma. Next, we come to the organs which are involved in amyloidosis. So, primary amyloidosis, it involves organs like heart, GIT, respiratory tract, peripheral nerves, skin, and tongue. While in secondary amyloidosis, common organs to get involved is kidney, liver, spleen, lymph node, adrenals, and thyroid. In localized amyloidosis, the amyloid protein gets deposited in lung, larynx, skin, urinary bladder, and tongue. So these are the common sites. Next, we come to very important topic, that is morphology of amyloidosis. Morphology means the gross appearance of amyloid as well as the microscopic appearance. So in the gross examination, in the organs where amyloid gets deposited, the organ becomes enlarged, grey, waxy in appearance, and firm. So you should remember these terms because it is a common finding in the organs where the amyloid protein gets deposited. Next, very important question which is asked often in viva and also in the examination is, how do we demonstrate amyloid in the gross specimens? So in the specimen, we will apply Lugol's iodine on the cut surface, and as I already told you, this is the property of amyloid protein, that on exposure to iodine, it will turn into deep brown, and on further application of sulfuric acid, it will acquire a blue color. So this is the coloring property of amyloid with iodine and sulfuric acid, and it is important to remember also. So this is again a picture with Lugol's iodine. The heart, it's showing a brownish color. Now next is the microscopic appearance. So hematoxin and eosin stain, this we do universally in histopathology. So in the routine HND staining, the amyloid appears as amorphous, eosinophilic. Amorphous means it does not have any form, then it appears pinkish, that is eosinophilic. It is extracellular in location, present outside the cells, and appearance is glassy or hyaline. So it has got a glassy or hyaline appearance. So these are the important key points that we should remember regarding amyloid protein appearance in the HND stain. So the differential diagnosis for amyloid on HND staining are collagen and fibrin. So collagen and fibrin, it has also got the amorphous eosinophilic appearance. Now next we come to the special stain. The most important special stain is the Congo red stain. So when we stain the tissue section with Congo red, in ordinary light microscope it appears as reddish pinkish in color, but on polarizing microscopy this will give a apple green birefringence because of the cross beta pleated sheet structure. Because the amyloid, this Congo red dye, it gets deposited in between the fibrils which are present in the cross beta pleated sheet structure. Now next is the staining characteristic of amyloid. So I already told you that on HND stain it gives a pink hyaline homogeneous appearance. Then with methyl violet or crystal violet, since it is a metachromatic stain, it gives a rose pink color. So the color of the stain is different, while the color of the tissue section on microscopy it is different. That's why it is called metachromatic stain. Next is Congo red. So on light microscopy it will give pink red, while on polarizing light it will give apple green birefringence. So this point is very important. Next, with thioflavin T, thioflavin S, these are the fluorescent dyes. It will give fluorescence on the UV light. Next is with ISC, immunohistochemistry, we can demonstrate the type of amyloid protein. So we can distinguish amongst the various proteins like AL, AA, ATTR by using specific antibodies against these fibrillary proteins. Now other are the non-specific stains like Elchin blue and PAS. Now we come to the morphology in various organs. Again, this is very important. So we will cover the important organs. So first, in general, in gross, when amyloid gets deposited in the organ in large amount, the organ generally it enlarges in size and it appears gray, waxy, translucent and firm in consistency. So these are the common points for in general for amyloidosis. And on microscopically there is the extracellular deposition, and it can be demonstrated with the routine and special stains. Now we come to the specific organs. First is kidney. So in kidney we should know that when amyloid gets deposited, so the kidneys may be normal size or it may be enlarged in size. But in advanced cases, since this amyloid gets deposited within the arterial walls, so there can be narrowing of the vessels, and because of that the kidney becomes shrunken because of ischemia. Now cut surface again is pale, waxy and translucent. So again this is a picture in which we can see that the kidney is having a waxy and translucent appearance. Now in microscopy, in the kidney, the amyloid protein, it will get deposited at various sites. First in the glomerulus, so it will be deposited between the capillary loops and in between the mesangial cells. Secondly, it gets deposited in the tubules. So they will be deposited in the tubules and the peritubular interstitial tissue. And thirdly, important, it gets deposited in the wall of the arterioles, resulting in the narrowing of the arterioles. Now next is liver. So liver, when amyloid gets deposited, it becomes enlarged and it has a pale and waxy translucent appearance. On microscopy, amyloid first appears in the space of disc. So this is important MCQ, and later it encroaches on the hepatocytes and it will ultimately cause the pressure atrophy of the hepatocytes. But clinically, the functional impairment of liver is rare to be seen. Now again this is gross appearance of the liver. It is enlarged, pale and waxy, and here you can see this pink amorphous eosinophilic deposition of amyloid in between these trabeculae of hepatocytes. Now again This is an image of Robbins, where we can see this is the liver tissue, and this is a congruent staining. Under ordinary light, you will see the reddish color deposit of myeloid, pinkish red, and in the polarized light we can see the apple green birefringence. Now next we come to the amyloidosis of the spleen. So this is very important. So in spleen you can see two morphological forms. First is sagospleen, in which the amyloid gets deposited in the nodular fashion, while in the lardaceous spleen it is deposited diffusely. So in sagospleen and lardaceous spleen, in both there is moderate to marked splenomegaly. Now the cut surface of sagospleen, it has a sago or tapioca granular like appearance. So sago in Hindi it is called sabudana. So appearance is like that, like white small granules on the cut surface. While on microscopy these deposits, they are mainly limited to the splenic follicles, so it gives a nodular appearance on microscopy. So the nodules of amyloid proteins, they are seen in the microscopic sections. While in the lardaceous spleen, the cut surface has a lard like appearance. So what is lard? Lard is like pig fat. So appearance is like lard, that's why it is called lardaceous spleen. And on microscopy, the amyloid proteins, it is seen deposited in the wall of the splenic sinuses, and later these deposits, they fuse together to form large map like areas of amyloidosis. So these are the two morphological forms of amyloidosis in case of spleen. So first is sagospleen. So this has a sago like appearance, the tapioca granules or sago, known as sabudana in Hindi, and this is a spleen, and cut surface shows a sago spleen like appearance. These white granular areas are seen like white nodules. Now this is the microscopy for sagospleen. So nodular deposits which are seen in the lymphoid follicles. This is lardaceous spleen. So this is lard, and the spleen having appearance of the lardaceous spleen. In microscopy, the deposits of amyloid, they are seen in diffuse fashion. So all this is the deposit of amyloid protein. Next is in the heart. So seen in senile systemic amyloidosis, also known as senile cardiac amyloidosis, in aged patients, so transthyretin protein gets deposited in the form of amyloid protein. So again, heart is enlarged, translucent, waxy in appearance. In the microscopic examination, the amyloid protein will get deposited in the coronary vessels, endocardium, around the myocardial fibers, leading to the pressure atrophy of the cells of the heart. So again, this is a microscopic picture. You can see this is the amyloid protein seen on light microscopy, and in between the muscle fibers of the heart. Again, this is the amyloid deposition. So these are amorphous, eosinophilic, glassy, and highly in appearance. Now in the tongue we can see macroglossia. So and deposition of myeloid in the patients on long-term hemodialysis patients, they can have the deposition of myeloid protein in the wrist, in the carpal ligament, and can result in the carpal tunnel syndrome in those patients. Now clinically, the symptoms can be non-specific or related to the organ which is involved. So non-specific symptoms will be weakness, weight loss, lightheadedness, etc. Now for the specific organs in cardiac amyloidosis, we can have congestive heart failure, then arrhythmias, which can be fatal also. Then in renal amyloidosis, the symptoms will be accordingly like proteinuria, nephrotic syndrome, and with progressive obliteration of glomeruli, there will be chronic renal failure. In the tongue, there will be macroglossia, which will hamper the speech and will hamper the swallowing. If deposition occur in GIT, then it can lead to malabsorption and diarrhea. That was all about the morphology of amyloid in various organs. Now lastly, the diagnosis. So diagnosis confirmed by biopsy and histopathological examination. So localized amyloidosis biopsy of the involved organ can be taken, and then we can do the HND staining and also the special stain, of which most important is the Congo red stain. Now biopsy can be taken from kidney, from rectum. Gingival biopsy can also be taken depending on the site involved. Then abdominal fat pad aspirate or biopsy stained with Congo red can be also done, but it has lesser sensitivity than the gingival or rectal biopsies. Next, ISC, like I already told you, immunohistochemistry can be done using antibodies against these specific proteins for the typing of amyloid. And for the primary amyloidosis, AL amyloidosis, we can also do urine and serum protein electrophoresis to detect the Banks-Jones proteins. Additionally, bone marrow examination can also be done for the diagnosis of the plasma cell dyscrasias. Now, other investigation is the scintigraphy with radio-labeled serum amyloid P protein, in which this SAP will bind to the amyloid deposit and will reveal their presence. So, these are the various diagnostic modalities which are used for amyloidosis. So, gold standard, the most important investigation is histopathology and congruent staining. So, prognosis is poor in the generalized form with a 2-year survival. So, this is a summary for amyloidosis. So, it's a disorder characterized by the extracellular deposits of misfolded proteins that aggregate to form the insoluble fibrils. Deposition of these proteins may result from the excessive production of proteins that are prone to misfolding and aggregation, or mutations that produce the proteins that cannot fold properly, so they tend to aggregate. And defective or incomplete proteolytic degradation of extracellular proteins result in their progressive accumulation. Now it can be localized or it can be systemic. So it is seen in association with a variety of disorders. Examples are monoclonal B cell proliferations, and then chronic inflammatory diseases like rheumatoid arthritis, then Alzheimer's disease in which amyloid B protein is deposited. Then there are inherited conditions. And amyloid deposits, it causes tissue injury and it impairs normal function by causing pressure atrophy of the cells, but they do not evoke a inflammatory response. So thank you very much. So I have taken the references from the Robbins, and images I have taken from the Google and also from the Robbins. So any queries regarding this topic can be asked in the comment section. Thank you very much.